Welcome back. In today's episode, I'll be changing spark plugs on a 2009 Saturn Outlook. Stay tuned as I try to do this as Sean Connery. One of the first things I have to do is take the oil fill cap off. There it is. The next thing I have to do is take off the cover off of the motor. Just a quick yank, and that's all it is. Now that I have the oil cap and the engine cover off, I'm going to put the oil cap back on because I'll be working in here for a while and I don't want anything falling into the crankcase. I'm going to pop this one hose off here. That's on the intake hose. It appears it has completely come off. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to remove this hose out of the way. There are two metal clamps that I'm going to unscrew to loosen. I'm just using a common screwdriver. If you're a little more industrious, you can choose to use the appropriate size socket. It's fairly small. I'm going to gently but firmly work this thing off. Oh, that's not good. As you can see, there are all kinds of hoses and cables that run along the top of the motor. These are all going to have to come off. And this guy pops off right there. Some kind of air hose or something. And I put him out of the way. And then this guy here, he's attached to the stud right there. I'm going to move him. Okay, so I'm going to use my fastener tool to pry up on these studs. I got one off. There's another one here that's broken. There's one down here that I'm going to pry forward. That one's off. And so that's out of the way. That's out of the way. Okay, so I was working on this guy right here that connects to the front of the intake. And there's a few connecting points. I went ahead and disconnected this. And there is a bolt-sized adapter. It's 19 millimeter. There we go. Now she's moving. There. I've got it. There's an electrical connector right back here. That's going to have to come off. Let's see if I can get it off. Now listen. This particular connector was a bit of a bear. But there's this tab on this side. This tab right down here. This is where the connector secures. This little gray retainer was positioned forward like that, and that's what locks this connector down to this part of the intake. Now I had to pry this gray piece backward in order for it to release the connection. So once I got it off, I was able to pull the plug off. There you have it. Now I'll move on to the mount bolts. These mount bolts are 13 millimeter, but I found that my half-inch socket fits on there without any play whatsoever. The 13 millimeter will work, but it feels like there's slight play on it. So I'm going to use my 1/2 inch instead. So I missed one mount bolt. It is right behind where this connector plugs in that I showed you how to unplug earlier. There's that mount bolt. That's the short one. All right, that's all the mount bolts. Out she goes. There we go. Before I put that intake manifold back on, I'm going to give this a good cleaning. Some folks might suggest replacing it. I don't see any tears. I don't see any weak spots. It just needs a cleaning. So while I'm working in this area, I'm going to cover this up so I don't drop anything down into it. Now that I have access, I'm going to remove each coil pack one at a time, and then remove each spark plug corresponding with each coil pack. It's a 10mm bolt head on each coil pack. There's one coil pack. And there's the bolt for it. Now, I already lost my gasket from the inside of my spark plug socket, and I had to fish that out. So I'm going to have to do a little non-standard removal of this spark plug, because this gasket just is ready to come off. Let's see. There. That's completely out inside the tube there. Get my little pliers and pull out the first spark plug. There she is. First spark plug. I'm gonna go get the new one. Okay. Here's the new one, and here's the old one. Out with the old, in with the new. I'm gonna gently and carefully put this all the way back down into the hole. Now I grabbed that rubber gasket that I had to fish off, just to make sure I didn't drop the new spark plug. Now I'm going to tighten her down. Just a little bit of a snug. And there we have it. Okay. So I learned something. I was actually not leaving the spark plug gasket, or spark plug socket, little gasket in the spark plug well. The coil packs, they have this long silicone rubber seal here. And this piece of it is breaking off each well so far. And I have these old coil packs, and I found out that I can just take these off and put them on my other one, which you have to be careful. There's a spring inside. So when you transfer, if you do transfer from your old ones to your new ones, which you shouldn't have to if you buy a new coil pack, you can reuse the old coil pack shoes. So like this one down here, this one broke. I went ahead and removed the coil pack completely, and I swapped out the gasket. On to the next spark plug. That one's completely loose. Now I'm going to fish it out. Spark plug fished out. There we go. Doesn't look too bad at all. And again, I'm going to now use this broken boot to hold my spark plug when I put it back in the well. Keep the spark plug from hitting anything. Go right back into the hole, and I'm going to put it in hand tight where it doesn't, where I can't really thread it any longer. Okay, so really, the best thing to do for these, I'm going to show you, if you want to change the coil packs, you can just, there's a locking tab here. I don't know if it's easy or hard to see from this camera angle. This locking tab right here, this is what keeps the connector secure. So once that locking tab is out, the connector can come out. So, to put this back on, dead on, I'm going to do this first before I put the connector back on. Get this seated all the way. I'm going to get my mount screw that was over here and put this back in. That's secure. I'm going to put the connector back on. It's back on. I'm going to push the locking mechanism back in place, and that's for that. All right, now it's time to tighten that second spark plug that I put down into the spark plug well. All right, here we go. Just a little snug. Now I'll get the coil pack and put that back down into the hole on top of the spark plug. Get it seated. This time I did not take the mount screw, the mount bolt off. I'm going to tighten it down and seat the coil pack at the same time. But But again, just like last time, I'll put the connector on last. All right, connector's going on. Connector's connected. This time I'm going to undo the electrical connector. First, I'll take my common screwdriver. Let me change the angle. All right, this is what I'm going to do. Here's your connector lock. I'm going to put my common screwdriver in there and twist. That's normally how I do it. So it's coming out. I'm going to give it a little push. A little bit on one side, a little bit on the other. There. It's coming out, so I'm going to put my hands down on it and give it a little pull. So it's going to come out quite a ways, so you can't see exactly. There we go. And if you looked over here, it locked and unlocked, and it actually brings the connector to the closed position. There. Now the connector can come off all the way. There. That's the coil pack connection. All right, let's see if I can get this one off out of the plug well without damaging it, without breaking it. That would be nice, wouldn't it? I mean, the engine is not hot. And the car it's a 2009, and I've changed the coil packs once before. So, who knows what the dealio is. Come on. Without breaking. Ah, yes. I got that one without breaking it. Most excellent. Now I can break the other three and not worry about it. All right, I'm back to getting spark plug number 3. Now the other 3 on the back of the motor are a little bit harder to get to. I think this one's loose. Yes, it is. Get my needle nose pliers and fish it out. There she is. She looks just like the other 2 that I've taken out already. All right, here's the new spark plug, and again, so I don't foul up the element, or the whatever it's called. I'm going to put that broken boot from one of those other coil packs. I'm going to put it into my spark plug wrench just to make sure that it doesn't drop when I put it back in its spot. Nice and gentle down into its spot. It's acting like it doesn't want to do what I want it to do. Okay. Let's see. Fish out that silly thing and go from there. Fish out that boot. See if spark plug stays in its spot. There's the boot I got with my hemostats. And I'll go back with my spark plug wrench and see if I can get her in there. She's going down nicely. Nicely. So apparently these coil packs need a little bit of care when removing. Seems like it to me. Okay, she's getting tight. Put the socket wrench on it. Switch it to tighten, not loosen. A little snug. Take that out. Gently, slowly, and evenly put the coil pack back on. Gently, slowly, and evenly put the coil pack back on. And I'm going to tighten it a little bit each time I move it. The securing bolt for the coil pack, there's a little bit more. Hand tighten as I got a little slack there, down the rest of the way. All right, she is seated. Give her a little tight, a little snug. All right, I'm gonna put this connector back on and push that securing tab back all the way in. This is giving me a little attitude. There, I've got it now. All right, so these three are the ones that remain. These are not easy. Let's get right to it. I'll try this one back here. I'll go with this one first. Don't know how easy that's to see. It's this big old cable bundle. All right. I guess I need to loosen the connector too. Wouldn't you like to be a connector too? This might be, oh, there we go. Do you see that? That is fantastic. That connector lock came right off. So I'm gonna push the connector back. Okay, the connector's removed. I'm going to try to lift up on the coil pack. See if I can. Don't want to do that. Cover that back up. I have exposed the intake manifold, the intake to the. Oh, there we go. Okay, there it is. I'm going to unscrew this some more. Do it with my fingers. Pull up on this, maybe give her a little leverage. Hopefully. All right, I'm gonna give it a little bit more, loosen some more. Maybe I could do it by my fingers. All the way to there. Now, let's see if we can get her off without damaging it. All right. So she's disconnected on the back. Let's see. Let's see if I broke it, because that's going to be a bear. Oh, it's broken. That's going to be a bear. All right. As you can see, I have a bit of a quandary. All right, these three, this one, and this one, sit back here. Now I've got my mirror here, and this is close to the firewall, right? So I've got my mirror, and I'm gonna have to use my mirror and reach down in here to get these out. So the spring is down there and the boot, so this is going to be a challenge. I don't know if I'm going to record this or not. I think even if I record this, it'll be difficult to see, just because how everything sits in here. It's just not a good situation. I have to work with a mirror. Everything's reversed. Yeah, I don't think I'm going to record this. This is a bit of a pain. very good. It turns out I only broke one boot out of the 3 on the back side. I still had to use a mirror to fish out each of the spark plugs, but I'm ready to reinstall the intake manifold. So, here we go. She's a bit large, so I have to make sure I get everything out of the way. She's a bit heavy too, but once again, to get all these hoses and things out of the way, make sure I don't mess anything up. She sits something like this. There we go. Pretty sure she's on. Make sure there's nothing that's too much in the way, because these things will go up here. There we go. That's back where it belongs. We'll go get the bolts. All right. I've got these 2 threaded. I'm going to go get the others. All right. Here goes this guy. Let's see if he threads. Not threading yet. There, that threaded. Let's put this guy in right here. He's threading. And this guy right here. Alright, he's threading too. And this little one right here, we'll see if I can get this one to thread. It's threading. I'm pretty sure. Yes, I can tell she's threading. Okay. Alright, I got my socket. I'm going to hand thread as much as I can. As many of them as I can. Before I start routing all these cables. I'm putting that little cover back on. I want to make sure these all thread evenly. None of them are binding, anything like that. I don't get much turns on it from there. So my apologies for not recording everything. I had to get a dental tool to reach back into that cylinder well, that spark plug well, and that's how I got the broken coil pack boot off of the spark plug. It took longer than I liked, but I got it done. Keep going now. One's tight. I got an extension so I could get more of a reach on this guy right here. Got a little bit annoying just doing quarter turns, if you know what I mean. It's a shame when these stick to what you're trying to remove. All right. That one. That one. That one. That one. That one. Make sure I've got that one good. Seems like they're all good to go. So I won't bore you with the rest. The rest is pretty simple. Thank you for joining me as I change spark plugs as Sean Connery.